These bloody nature worshippers, they'll take everything from you. Do you know what the C40 consortium is?
No, I've heard of it, but I don't know enough about it.
It's a consortium of municipalities, 40 of the biggest cities in the world. They've all signed on to this. So what's their agenda? You can't even believe this is true. One short haul flight per person every 3 years. 95% reduction in private automobile ownership. You know this idea we're going to have electric cars? Yeah. Everyone knows the grid can't withstand that. No meat consumption.
I know. Europe right now. Yeah. And everywhere we go, it feels like people are evangelizing veganism to us. Yeah.
Finally, 3 items of clothing a year. That's their plan.
No.
Absolutely. How much bloody clothing do you need? The planet's at stake, and you need to drive? What makes you so special? Yeah. What puts you above the rats and the weeds, exactly?
Stay home, watch porn, and get Uber Eats from the electric car and just shut up, mate.
Yeah. Well, you get Uber Eats, what are you going to get? You're roasted what?
Mushrooms?
Soy, so you can grow breasts as a man.
He's off the chain.
Awesome.
He's angry.
City of Sydney is part of that, by the way.
That,
Clover Moore. So she signed up to that, which is very fascinating for all those feel-good City of Sydneyites who may never drive again and eat crickets.
Yep. It is, like we said earlier, it is about controlling every aspect of your life. What you spend, what you buy, how far you can travel, what kind of car that you're allowed to buy. It is just all consuming, this green ideology. It is a form of the definition of totalitarianism is a state or an institution that reaches into every aspect of your life. There is no private sphere anymore. This is a totalitarian ideology. When they start talking about a carbon wallet, how many carbon credits you get, whether you can fly or not, how far you can travel, which will have some impact on, for example, where you can send your kids to school, where you can holiday, that kind of thing. That is a totalitarian ideology. And of course, those who have enough money don't care about any of this because they'll always be able to buy carbon offsets. So they'll be able to say, well, I do want to take a fifth trip on a jet this year, but that's okay. I'll just throw a $20,000 carbon offsets and do my bit. So pay my indulgence and go do what I want. So it won't really affect the rich. It'll just affect the middle classes and lower.
Yeah, I think Craig's right. We need more direct democracy on this stuff because they would lose this debate.
They would totally lose it.
And Nigel Farage, as a part of the reform contract, not manifesto, contract with the people they made, they said we will make it much easier for the public to get up referendums. I think we should be doing 10 referendums every election that we do in Australia. I really do. We should
Instead of wasting money on those turbines outside of Wollongong, we should be having referendums. People should have a say in how our country is led because we don't have enough of a say. I mean, the next thing we're going to have cameras in every single household with them telling us what we can and cannot eat in our own fridges.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the next thing.
And here's the thing, that the response will always be, the problems are too complicated. You need expert understanding. It can't be left to the demos.
Like Bowen.
That's right. Yeah, it can't be left to the people. And this is the thing with the hyper scientific age we're in. See, once upon a time, a politician would say the people have spoken. They don't say that anymore. They say the science is in. The experts have said.
Because of the silent majority. Wow. And this is the thing. The day this changes is when the silent majority stops being silent.
Well, the big test will be this coming election.
Yeah.
In those electorates off Hunter Valley, off Port Stephens there, and down the south coast.
Yeah.
The only way these things are going to be stopped is if enough people in those electorates that have been former Labor and Greens voters look at the data and say, this is a complete nonsense. This is going to wreck our local environment, and it will actually damage the economy and change their vote.
Yes.
That is the only thing that's going to stop this.
Because it's not an abstract thing anymore. It's not about some abstract notion of the climate or sustainability, abstract concept. It is directly affecting their lives. They have to see these eyesores. They see the dead wildlife. They leak oil as well. These things are full of oil. They leak oil. They turn beautiful, lush green areas into concrete because they've got to often put roads in before they can actually build the things. So for those who are living with it, it is not just an abstract concept. It is something that is actually tangibly destroying their communities. And maybe that's the only way that some people are going to learn that this is a really, really bad idea. And we just need to have a conservative media, guys like you, Joel. I mean, you might not like being called a conservative media.
No, I love it. No,
Okay, fine.
Loud and proud.
But we just got, like, the question is always, what can we do? All right, show where the disasters are and put it out there to the Australians, because you know something, everything was against us with The Voice. The corporations were against us, the politicians were against us, the academics, the high schools were against us, everyone was against us. But guys like you, other people in the alternative media just got the message out there, very matter-of-fact logic out there, and it was a landslide.
And that's it. It's the silent majority was vocal, and we really need to start speaking out and telling people what our thoughts are and telling people the information. We've been silent for way too long. We need to, I mean, it's really a silly thing to say, but almost use the left's tactics to do what they do best and maybe take lessons, because we haven't really learned.
Let me give you an example of one thing we're up against. I was driving up to Queensland the other week, and I'm flicking around on the radio, and I'm pressing, and they said Dr. Adi Patterson was coming on soon. Now, Dr. Adi Patterson was the chief executive of ANSTO. He ran the facility, the Lucas Heights nuclear reactor, which was in my old electorate. So I got to know him very well. He said he's one of the smartest guys that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting with. He'd regularly invite me around down there, and he'd educate me and explain things to me. And just a top guy in his field. Now, he did this interview with the ABC, and he absolutely slaughtered the person that was doing the interview. Yeah. And he debunked every single leftist talking point about nuclear power and renewables, and did it with, like, a clarity, facts, science, and data, right? I thought, wow, that is a really great interview. So I'm going to go and get that, and I'm going to put that on my social media pages. So
absolutely. I'll try and get him in, yeah.
So a couple of days later, I went looking for this ABC interview. Couldn't find it. Disappeared. Straight down the memory hole. So the ABC didn't want anyone, those type of interviews, they almost always put them up on their websites and their social media platforms. And here we have a debate about nuclear, which is the number one issue in the country, not only this week, but next month and going into the election campaign. So it should be given absolute priority to put that up on their platforms. And they sent it down the memory hole. They censored that interview, and that's the $1 billion ABC.
And what's the viewership of the ABC and the listening capacity of the ABC? People are turning away from mainstream media for exactly that reason, because they realise that whatever it is that they're trying to put out there is not a balanced view.
Absolutely.
That was an incredible interview. I found that on your X, and I watched. That's one of the best interviews I've ever seen. It's a model of logic, just empirical detail, calm, reasoned argument. It's one of the most important interviews probably the ABC has hosted in 10 years.
I agree.
Like, it should have been sort of at the front of their website if they cared anything about a substantial public debate. Why has this guy not been a regular on Q&A on the ABC?
Yeah.
Like,
Surely
why have we
you're
not heard?
joking with
this
that
guy
question.
should be famous, but he's not.
No.
And what do? They'll get some third-rate comedian
right,
who
you're
can
right.
only get state-subsidised laughs from the ABC talking about the environment. Or they'll get them on Q&A.
Yeah, they would never. He's the guy that they would never get on.
They couldn't.
Because they know that he speaks with authority and expertise in the field, and they don't want that. They want it's all about the vibe.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Well, look, it kind of reminds me of during 2021 when, Craig, you were appearing on Sky News and they weren't uploading your segments to their YouTube. Okay, they didn't want to get censored. They wanted to protect their revenue. Understandable. I do that now. But then they wouldn't upload it anywhere. And it's like, at least I upload this full show. I take the censored stuff out and I put it on Rumble. I put it on X. I put it on, Telegram. And this is the thing, guys, and this brings me to my point. If you like this content, be sure to share it, get it out there, be sure to donate to the show, because these shows, they last only off your donations and that of our sponsors, and there aren't many. So please share it out there, get it out there. For the 60 of you that are listening live, God bless you, because normally the streams are like that with regards to the audience attention. You guys have just been stable and fluctuating along. Thank you so much. Keep sharing the stream out. Just so you know, with regards to the numbers, it's not just 60 people that view it every week. I assure you. It's actually 400,000 to 500,000 that view it across the clips after we finish up. The first episode got 450,000 views with Craig, Natalie, and Topher, and the second episode got 550,000 views, which I'm tracking. We're across a number of different platforms. This is a new YouTube a channel rather, which is why the such a small viewing tonight. But this is going to grow over time, and half of the following is off nukable platforms. We're on X, we're on Telegram, Rumble. But looking at this Friday, we're doing our very first live stream of Donald Trump debating Joe Biden for the debate, for the US election. He is set to actually announce who his vice president candidate is. And he says that the person will be present. Also, Vivek Ramaswamy will be present. So a lot of people are obviously speculating, look, it looks like Vivek might actually be the guy.
Wow.
And I'm all for it. I think Vivek's phenomenal. I didn't expect him to be a second in command sort of guy, but he is a pretty good hype guy. But Donald Trump's also joined TikTok, and this guy, it's been popping off. This is one of the videos he uploaded recently, over 3 million likes, not including the millions of views.
I love no tax on tips. By the way, no tax on tips. I'm going to save TikTok.
That young kid was actually, there was more to that video. That young kid was quite incredible. He was so touched that he got to meet Trump that he had tears. He was actually crying. And Trump, I think, he signed up, was it $1 bill?
Dollar note, yeah.
A dollar note, and gave it to him. It was really quite touching.
Well, I think what's interesting is the issue about Vivek. And normally where you see the vice presidential, the running mate is normally someone that's, a bit, sort of like vanilla.
Yes.
I want to say the word that's, is very...
A bit like Mike Pence.
Yeah, a bit laid back sort of thing that is not necessarily a great public speaker, that gets out there and it's just a real sort of more steady, sort of safe pair of hands. It's not controversial. Yeah. Have someone like Vivek, that guy has a tremendous ability to communicate, a great public speaker, a great debater, someone that's been very successful, and I would love to see him to be the vice president of the USA, because that would also put him in position in the subsequent election to be the president of America.
I love Vivek. I think it would be a mistake for him to make him VP, because I think you're dealing with two huge personalities. Yep. I think they'd have a real hard time working with one another unless Vivek basically submitted on everything and sort of just kind of just went along with the flow. Yeah. If you were to ask me who the ideal VP would be, but he's not necessarily the ideal president, Ben Carson.
But
I don't necessarily agree that it will be Vivek. Just because he's going to be there does not mean that he will be selected the vice president. I actually, sorry to disagree with you all, I don't think it will be Vivek.
Yeah, but you know what? Tune in this Friday, guys. You're going to see it. Craig will be here, and we'll find out live together, because you need a cable channel in order to actually watch the CNN debate. But
I'd be shocked if it was Vivek. There's no votes
Carson
in him.
would be good, but I think from a perspective of someone, a citizen of the globe, I want someone there with the strength that can say, "Hey, Don, mate, I think you're wrong." Right? I don't agree with you on that. Let's rethink about it. I think that would be good, rather than someone that's just there as a rubber stamp.
I see what you're saying, but I think also anyone who, look, I don't want to say anyone, but I think a lot of people instinctively would predict that anyone who would say to Donald, "You're doing the wrong thing," that's just not going to work with Donald Trump. It's just not how a guy like that gets to where he is in life. And that's why I see Ben Carson as probably the best. He is totally non-controversial. Do I think he'd be a great president? No. I think he's a bit goofy. There's something weird about it. He's obviously super intelligent. He's like a neuro brain surgeon or something, but he always comes across as kind of goofy. But I think he'd actually be the perfect sort of vanilla, maybe
you want.
Yeah, but also there's not a good track record.
Vanilla,
but there's not a good track record of VPs actually going on to become president.
Yeah,
no.
I will just say that sometimes it actually nukes it. Like it wouldn't work. I think you'd agree if Ron DeSantis was VP, it wouldn't have worked.
Biden was vice president.
Yeah, that's an example. Yeah. But I reckon if Ron DeSantis was the VP, I think that's another thing. It would be less likely, in my opinion, that he'd go on to become president. Trump's just not that kind of guy. I think Vivek's a good hype guy surrogate.
Yes.
He's good at hitting the online podcast.
I think he's still green.
Yes, you're right.
He's still green. He's got a lot.
He's very young.
He's very young. He's got a fair way to go. I just don't think it'll be him.
There were no votes in him. That's the thing.
I don't know. There's a decent sized Asian community. His Indian background. There's a decent size, and I think not that should count at all. I just think I look at the guy and I see someone that's extremely intelligent, that thinks about issues. And
I love him.
And if look, in my office, I used to have you sign block, argue with me. I know Trump does his way of Trump has his way of doing things, and he has his public persona, right? But he really wants what is best for America and best for Australia and the rest of the world is you want someone in there that is going to put alternative suggestions to Trump and argue. And even if Trump disagrees with what Vivek says, it makes him think about it from a different perspective.
Yeah, you're right.
So I want someone in that VP position that is going to be there and be a strong personality, that they don't go around and argue publicly, and I think Vivek's smart enough not to do that. But when you close the doors and when you have a meeting, that you've got someone there that can actually look at it from another perspective.
Well, we'll find out this Friday, guys. I do want to get through. It's almost 9 o'clock, believe it or not. Barack Obama, regardless, is getting very anxious about Biden actually losing to Trump. And obviously, who knows what kind of skeletons are in the closet that we don't know about, that Trump's going to uncover when he's there. But supposedly he's actually involving himself more in the campaign, Breitbart is reporting.
Someone's got to hold him up.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Biden,
Look,
yeah.
I think it was Obama who said, "Don't underestimate Biden's ability to f things up," and he said,
And he's doing a brilliant job.
he's doing a brilliant job,
Yeah,
and
he's
also
great.
I do believe he said to Biden, "You don't have to do this. You don't have to run at the time, in the election." But this other revelation which came out, Kash Patel, he dropped a huge bomb, being that Paul Ryan, who was the leader of the House of Representatives, the lower house in America, actually was the first one to receive a copy of the Steele dossier. What the hell is a Steele dossier? You might remember what kicked off this whole Russiagate, Trump, Russia, and Putin in 2016, that Putin helped Trump get elected. The Steele dossier was a document, a hit job, funded with Democratic Party donations, and it actually went on to actually target Trump, and it was completely fabricated, complete crap, and the intelligence agencies were highlighted in it. Well, Paul Ryan was a Republican. He's a rhino, and he was the first one to actually receive it, and he tried to cover it up, but it's just come out, 2024. This is 8 years ago, these events.
And didn't he hire the actual investigators? So he was the Speaker of the House, and then he actually hired the investigators to investigate this, knowing full well what was in it. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Matt Keenan.
Oh, yeah.
Like that. You got, but seriously, you got this fifth column. You got this fifth column. No wonder Peter Dutton can't speak with conviction, because he's got to take into consideration this broad church of people stabbing in the back, and that's why I feel for him. But at the end of the day, he's still falling short of the mark, and respectfully, I'll be voting minor right parties. Sorry guys, I am conscious of